Okay, so let's just unpack this right out of the gate. I'm going to throw a word at you,
Right.
and I want you to be totally honest about the very first image that flashes in your brain. Don't overthink it. Just the raw reaction.
Okay, hit me.
Manifestation.
Oh boy.
Right. Be honest. What did you actually see?
I saw a vision board, probably some crystals,
Mm.
maybe someone sitting in a lotus position, eyes closed, just trying to like vibrate at the frequency of a new Tesla.
Exactly. It triggers this immediate woo-woo alarm. It feels like the secret or, I don't know, magic. And usually when we see that kind of stuff in the research pile, we just toss it.
Mhm.
In fact, I remember seeing this source material come in and thinking, are we really doing this?
I had the exact same reaction. We almost killed this deep dive before it started. But then I actually started reading the mechanism they were proposing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the elephant in the room we need to address right now. Because if you stop listening the moment you hear manifestation, you are going to miss out on what is actually a really rigorous biological framework for performance.
And that's the pivot that grabbed me. The source material is adamant. This is not about magic. It is not mysticism. It is strictly about biology, specifically our brain's own hardware.
Precisely. The mission of this deep dive is to explore what they call learned manifestation. And notice the word learned there.
Right, it's a skill.
Exactly. This isn't a gift you're born with or some kind of cosmic favor. It is a competence. We're going to look at how to transition from passive hope, waiting for the universe to deliver, to active agency using the actual machinery inside your skull.
So no genies.
No genies.
Yeah.
Just neuroscience.
Okay, I can work with that. But I do have to play devil's advocate for a second. If we are stripping away the magic and the crystals and the whole cosmic ordering service thing, what is actually left? Like, what is the biological mechanism that explains why manifestation seems to work for some people and not others?
It starts with a filter. You have to understand that your brain is processing a massive amount of data every single second. Sights, sounds, sensations, the temperature of the room you're in, the hum of your computer, the feeling of your shoes on your feet.
Things we don't even notice.
Right. If you consciously paid attention to all of it, you'd short circuit. You would be completely paralyzed.
It's just noise.
Blinding noise. So to survive, the brain uses a bouncer. It's called the Reticular Activating System, or the RAS. Think of the RAS as the most sophisticated search engine ever created, and it lives right in your brainstem. Its job is to block out almost everything and only let through the signals that are relevant to your survival or your goals.
Okay, I really love this search engine analogy, but let's make it concrete. The source material uses a classic example that I think everyone listening has probably experienced. The car dealership.
The car dealership phenomenon. It is the perfect illustration of the RAS in action. Let's say you decide, very specifically, that you want a gray Jeep. You've never really noticed them before. You don't care about Jeeps. But the moment you define that target, I want a gray Jeep, what happens?
You see them everywhere. Suddenly the highway is just a parade of gray Jeeps. It feels like someone just released a fleet of them right as you left the lot.
Exactly. Now, did the universe suddenly manufacture thousands of gray Jeeps just for you? Did you magically attract them with your thoughts?
No, they were always there. I wasn't seeing them.
You were ignoring them. Your RAS had filtered them out because they simply weren't relevant. But once you established clarity, and that is the absolute key word here, you reprogrammed the filter. You gave the search engine a new keyword, and suddenly resources and paths that were previously completely invisible become obvious.
So this is the first big takeaway for me. Clarity programs perception. Without clarity, the world is just diffuse noise, random stimuli. But with clarity, relevant signals get highlighted.
And that shifts the paradigm entirely. It moves the concept from the universe delivers to the brain notices. It transforms a world that looks like a place of scarcity into this huge landscape of potential.
Yeah.
You aren't changing the world, you are changing what your brain allows you to see of it.
Which is really empowering, but also a little scary. Because doesn't this work in reverse? Like, if I can program my RAS to see opportunity, can't I also program it to see failure?
You absolutely can, and unfortunately, most people do without even realizing it. If your internal narrative is, that is almost certainly true. But seeing the opportunity, or seeing the gray Jeep, is only step one. This is where we have to make the crucial distinction between magical thinking and what the source calls active agency.
Right, because just seeing the Jeep doesn't put the keys in your hand. I can stare at a treadmill all day. It's not going to make me fit.
Exactly. And this is the trap of magical expectation. The source describes this curve where people expect a flat line of just waiting, followed by a sudden vertical spike of success. the miracle moment. They think thoughts alone create reality.
That's the sitting on the couch waiting for the check in the mail phase, or
Right.
waiting to be discovered.
Correct. And that is a fundamental misunderstanding of the biology. Learned manifestation operates on a ladder. It starts with belief, yes, because belief programs the RAS filter,
Hmm.
but then it moves to attention spotting the opportunity. Then comes choice and action, which is the actual physical move you make.
But isn't active agency just kind of a fancy corporate word for working hard? I feel like a lot of people will hear this and say, okay, so the secret is just do the work.
It sounds like that, but there is a nuance. Hard work without clarity is just grinding your gears. Active agency is about alignment. It's about ensuring your actions actually map to the opportunities your RAS has identified. And crucially, it leads to evidence.
Evidence. Let's dig into that.
When you take action and get a result, even a tiny one, that is feedback from reality, that evidence then updates your identity. You stop thinking of yourself as a learner or a dreamer, and you start identifying as a builder.
So the arrow goes both ways. You need belief to take action, but taking action actually builds the belief.
Precisely. You are bridging the gap between perceived possibility and realized outcome. It turns manifestation into a technical feedback loop. It's not a wish.
But let's talk about the friction here, because even if I see the path and I take a step, it doesn't mean I succeed immediately. In fact, usually I fail first. The source material talks about two different cycles here, the success flywheel and the doom loop.
The doom loop is what happens when you are chasing that silver bullet. You want the big win right now. You want to launch the business and be a millionaire by Tuesday.
Right, the viral hit, the lottery win, the instant promotion.
Exactly. And when it doesn't happen instantly, which it rarely does, you get frustrated. You react. You doubt the process. And that doubt actually tightens the filter again. You stop seeing opportunities because you've convinced yourself they don't work.
So how do we get on the success flywheel instead? How do we break that cycle of try, fail, quit?
You start small. Very small, atomic steps. You don't take a heroic leap, you take a manageable one.
Give me an example of that. What's an atomic step versus a heroic leap?
Okay, a heroic leap is, I'm going to write a novel this weekend. You sit down, stare at a blank page, feel totally overwhelmed, and quit. An atomic step is, I'm going to open my laptop and write 3 sentences.
Just 3. That feels almost insignificant.
It feels doable, and that's the whole point, because when you succeed at that small step, you generate a small win. That small win is evidence. It creates what the source calls durable self-trust. You aren't trusting the universe, you're trusting your own capacity to execute.
And physics kind of takes over from there.
It does. As you stack those small wins, internal friction, that voice of doubt, starts to decrease. The flywheel starts to spin faster. Success becomes earned manifestation. You feel a sense of pride because you actually built it, and that pride is psychological fuel for the next loop.
It's the difference between getting lucky and getting good.
Ideally, yes.
Oh, okay.
And getting good physically changes your biology.
Okay, let's go there. Because we promised we were looking at the hardware. We've talked about the RAS, which is the filter. But what is the engine? What keeps us moving when those 3 sentences feel like climbing Mount Everest?
This brings us to a really fascinating part of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, or the AMCC.
The AMCC sounds like a piece of high-end audio equipment.
It acts a bit like a power core for resilience. It sits right at the intersection of where we process emotion and where we generate physical effort. The AMCC is constantly calculating the expected value of your effort. It essentially asks, is this suck worth it?
So when I'm pushing through a tough workout or sticking to a really difficult project and I have that burning feeling in my chest that just wants to stop, that's my AMCC.
That is your AMCC in action. And here's the cool part. Every time you lean into a challenge, every time you do something you don't want to do, you physically strengthen this neural engine. You are building the hardware for resilience. It literally gets bigger.
Wow. But it's not just structure, right? It's also chemistry. The source describes a neurochemical orchestra. And I love this image because an orchestra can play a beautiful symphony or it can make a chaotic racket.
And just like an orchestra, it's all about balance. You have dopamine, which is your drive. It pushes you toward goals and mastery. But you also have cortisol.
The stress hormone, the classic villain of the story.
We often demonize cortisol, but its real job is to alert you to threats. The problem is, chronic cortisol creates a threat bias. It narrows your focus to danger. If your RAS is looking for opportunities, but your cortisol is running high, you are effectively blinded. You'll only see the problems.
So we need to balance that out.
We do. We have serotonin, which stabilizes mood and prevents catastrophic thinking. We have oxytocin, which is about safety and connection and helps us listen to our internal allies. And we have endorphins, which act as a buffer to make the effort actually feel bearable.
So we have this whole chemical soup swirling around. Who is in charge of the mix? Who's holding the baton?
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer is you do. Active agency is the conductor. You choose which instrument plays loudest by how you frame your thoughts and actions.
I want to dig into that framing idea because even if we know this, we all have those voices in our heads that try to grab the baton and ruin the concert. The source calls them saboteurs.
We all have them. Saboteurs are essentially survival scripts gone wrong. They are the internal voices that trigger the amygdala, the fear center, and shut down the RAS. They say things like, that's impossible, or you're not good enough, or people like us don't do things like that.
And when you say that's impossible, you are literally giving your brain a command to stop looking for solutions.
Exactly. You are blinding yourself. But the counterpart to the saboteur is the ally. The ally is the voice of hope and possibility. The ally insists that a path exists, even if you can't see it yet.
So how do we actually switch from saboteur to ally? Is it just positive thinking? Do I just look in the mirror and chant affirmations?
It's way more tactical than that. The source suggests a simple but incredibly powerful strategy. Name the saboteur.
Just name it.
When you hear that voice saying, this is going to fail, identify it. Say, that's my fear saboteur talking, or that's the perfectionist saboteur. By simply naming it, you engage the prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain. That quiets the alarm system in the amygdala and reopens the filter.
It's like turning on the light in the basement. The monster stops being scary when you can see it's just a pile of laundry.
Precisely. And once the light is on, you can get back to work. You can get back to building.
Speaking of building, let's talk about making this physical. We've talked about filters and chemicals, but how does this turn into actual talent? The source brings up a term I haven't heard since biology class. Myelination.
Myelination is the absolute secret sauce of skill. Think of your nerves like electrical wires. Myelin is the insulation that wraps around those wires.
Like the rubber coating on a charging cable.
Exactly. When a neural pathway is well insulated with myelin, the signal travels faster and stronger. It prevents the signal from leaking out.
And how do we build that insulation?
Through repetition and focus. The source uses the REPS acronym. Reaching, engagement, purposefulness, a strong feedback. Every time you struggle a little bit to reach a new level of skill, you are wrapping more myelin around that exact circuit.
So talent isn't magic either, it's just well-insulated wiring.
Correct. Success is the physical manifestation of repeated, high-quality neural engagement. It turns intent into automatic reflex.
To help us practice this, the source outlines a loop called THR/E. I want to walk through this because it feels like a really practical toolkit for our listeners. But instead of just listing the letters, can we apply this to something real? Let's say public speaking. Someone is terrified of giving a toast at a wedding. How do they use THRE?
Great example. So it starts with T for tackle. You pick a right-sized challenge. You don't sign up for a TED Talk. You maybe sign up to give a 30-second update in a team meeting.
Okay, that keeps the panic manageable. Then H for hypothesize.
This is about reducing noise.
Yeah.
You make a specific prediction. You say, if I write down my 3 bullet points, I will be able to get through this without passing out. You narrow the focus.
And R for reach.
This is the action. You actually do the thing.
Okay.
You stand up, you speak, your heart is pounding, your palms are sweaty, you are actively engaging the motor cortex and the AMCC.
I fear inspect.
Feedback. You sit down. Did you die? No. Did you stumble? Maybe. You look at the evidence. Okay, forgot the second point, but I finished.
Now, V for value. This one feels super important because usually this is where we beat ourselves up.
Exactly. Usually we say, I'm an idiot, I stuttered. But value means you value the effort, regardless of the outcome. You say, I did a hard thing. That builds resilience. This stabilizes your serotonin. It prevents you from crashing.
And finally, E for energize.
Endorphin reinforcement. You take that win, even if it was messy, and you use it to fuel the next loop. You tackle a slightly bigger challenge next time.
Tackle, hypothesize, reach, inspect, value, energize. It's a loop.
And that loop is what builds the myelin. That loop is what programs the RAS. That is the actual mechanics of learned manifestation. You aren't just wishing to be a good speaker. You are physically wiring the skill into your body.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on one last thing. We've been talking a lot about the individual, my brain, my filter, my chemicals, but the source material mentions that this applies to groups too.
It does. Just as individuals have an RAS, organizations have cultural filters. If a team believes innovation is impossible, they won't see the innovative ideas even if they are written in giant letters on the whiteboard.
So how do you change a cultural filter? You can't exactly ask a corporation to sit down and meditate.
You use atomic rituals,
Yes.
small shared actions that the whole team does together.
Like what does that look like in practice?
Think about something like Amazon's empty chair rule. In meetings, they would leave one chair empty to represent the customer. Now, that sounds simple, maybe even a little gimmicky, but what is it doing biologically? It is a physical cue that forces the collective RAS of the room to focus on the customer's perspective.
It creates a shared attention.
Exactly. These rituals build a collective belief in what is possible. It's about creating collective learned resilience. When everyone's filter is tuned to the exact same frequency of opportunity, the speed at which a team can move is incredible.
It's like upgrading the organizational search engine.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So let's bring this all home. We started with the idea that manifestation is usually seen as this mystical, wishy-washy concept, but what we found is a literal biological roadmap.
We've moved from passive hoping to biological competence. We start by programming the RAS with clarity, telling the brain what to look for.
Then we use active agency to take those atomic steps, climbing the ladder from belief to identity.
We earn our momentum on the success flywheel, using small wins to build durable self-trust.
We manage our internal neurochemical orchestra, making sure the conductor is deciding what plays loudest.
And we handle the gatekeepers,
Hmm.
naming those saboteurs so our allies can keep the filter open.
Ultimately, we make it physical through myelination and the TH-Rive loop, turning thoughts into wires.
But there is one final piece we absolutely shouldn't forget. The why.
Purposefulness.
Right. Without a clear why, without a real purpose, your RAS doesn't know what to prioritize. You might be efficient, you might be building myelin, but you'll just be drifting. Purpose prevents burnout because it aligns your biological effort with your deeper identity.
That's the compass.
That is the compass.
I want to leave everyone with a thought from the source material. It's a quote from Henry Ford that I've heard 1,000 times, but after this conversation, it hits totally differently.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
It's not philosophy. It's a biological instruction to your brain's filtering system. If you think you can't, your RAS will block the solutions.
Right.
If you think you can, it will find the path.
So program wisely.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.